After years of impatiently waiting, Starship Super Heavy finally left the pad. Dragon returns home, and Falcon shows Starship how it's done. I'm Kevin, and this is SpaceX in the News. On Sunday night, Elon created a Spaces meetup on Twitter to discuss the up-and-coming Starship launch. And he made it clear from the beginning, don't expect everything to go according to plan.
I would, like to just set expectations low. If we get far enough away from the launch pad before something goes wrong, then I think I would consider that to be a success. Just don't blow up the launch pad.
If you want to read the highlights from the event, check out my Twitter page. On Monday, Elon was in attendance at Mission Control for attempt number 1, pacing in anticipation for what we've all been waiting too many years for. During the live stream, SpaceX confirmed what we covered in an earlier episode last year, that the company is expanding to Bastrop, Texas.
We're opening a new facility in Bastrop, Texas, just outside of Austin, to support Starlink hardware production. The new facility will be over 500,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and the team has already started hiring.
At T-minus 17 minutes, a scrub was called due to a frozen pressurization valve on the Super Heavy booster.
SpaceX teams investigated the issue and determined that this valve had some moisture in it, which caused the valve to freeze up when we were loading super chilled liquid oxygen into the booster.
So John informed viewers SpaceX was indeed turning the test flight into a wet dress rehearsal. Elon tweeted they're already learning a lot and will try again in a few days. Shockingly, that day was 420, so now you know why they decided not to do the WDR last week. It's almost as if they anticipated this. And as you've probably heard by now, the rocket did light up this time. So let's go through the sequence of notable events, starting with the tower footage of liftoff SpaceX released after the mission. Immediately after starting up the 3 cluster of first stage Raptor 2 engines, 3 of them shut down. At T plus 29 seconds, one of the outer Raptors doubly explodes, throws shrapnel, then sputters out a few seconds later. Throughout the short-lived flight, 6 engines in total shut down, but 1 came back online. My theory, and this is just a theory, Kevin theory, so take it for what it's worth, the stress exerted on the vehicle bent the rocket around Starship's skirt. I believe this bent or damaged in some way Starship's release clamps that kept it from separating from the booster, which contributed to the loss of control as an already underpowered booster struggled to push. Then once it ran out of liquid oxygen, game over. This would also explain why SpaceX was expecting separation during the stream, but stage sep never came. Had Starship been able to separate, it very well could have continued the mission, perhaps all the way to Hawaii. Instead, both stages of the vehicle were remotely detonated with the flight termination system as it tumbled back to Earth. But that being said, it appears around the time of termination, a leaked image shows Starship possibly detached or partially detached from the booster, but we just don't know the full context of this photo. I've got to say, I was most impressed by how such a massive yet thin-skinned steel ship could withstand the stress associated with tumbling like it did without completely folding and buckling and exploding on its own. Truly amazing. SpaceX did provide a little insight on their website following the mission, quote, "The vehicle cleared the pad and beach as Starship climbed to an apogee of 39 clicks over the Gulf, the highest of any Starship to date. It experienced multiple engine outs, lost altitude, and began to tumble. The FTS was switched on and both stages blew." Regardless of all this, the mission was a success. Remember, the 2 things Elon wanted from the very beginning was to not blow up the launch pad, although that pretty much happened, and obtain useful data so the next attempt can go even further.
So it may take us a few kicks at the can here before we reach orbit, and then beyond reaching orbit, we've got to bring the booster back and land. We've got to bring the ship back and land.
Anyway, SpaceX employees were stoked, and so was Elon. He's sad.
Elon's sad.
Poor guy didn't get any sleep the night before. Elon says a lot was learned and that it's going to be a few months until the next attempt. But with as much damage that was done to the ground support equipment, I'd be impressed if we see another launch within 6 months. Perhaps this year. Although SpaceX has their launch license now, so the only thing really holding them back is SpaceX. For those interested, the company has added new Starship merch to their store, so check out their website to browse what's coming. And don't forget, our friends at A Games have their sequel card game to Starship Shuffle available for pre-order, titled Stage 0. Made in America by Canadians, buddy. In Dragon news, last weekend, CRS-27 undocked from the space station, carrying samples from NASA's studies of plant growth, fire safety, and changes in muscles and arteries. It splashed down off the coast of Florida on Saturday. The previous night, Falcon 9 launched SpaceX's 7th transporter mission from the West Coast, carrying 51 spacecraft for various customers, deploying them in sequence a couple hours later. The booster flew for its 10th time, landing back on the coast and making it look as though this is all routine now. Then on Wednesday, the second flock of Gen 2 mini Starlink satellites took off aboard Falcon 9 from Slick 40, Florida, flying for its 8th mission and touching down on a short fall of gravitas bobbing on the Atlantic. New Starlink maritime plans are available on the Starlink website. The next SpaceX mission is Starlink 3.5, slated for next Tuesday from Vandenberg, California. Then immediately following the day after on Wednesday is Viasat 3 aboard Falcon Heavy. Well, that's all for this week. Shout out to my supporters supporting the channel. Everyone have a phenomenal weekend, and until next time, Godspeed.